Yes. Don't get Bughuuled.
Or like Bughuuled.
Oh my god.
Right?
The Bughuuled.
The Bughuuled.
Oh my god. Yeah, they should join forces.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Spooky things galore. Flashes of spooks. Because 'tis the season, guys. We are past the 4th of July chaos, and all I've been seeing on my Instagram, social medias in general, is everyone getting ready for the spooky spooks.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
baby.
big time.
All the stores coming in with the things, Bath and Body Works with their little spooky candles. Can't wait. All the good
Yup.
things.
I see
Yum.
all the like Spirit Halloween starting to open and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, Spirit Halloween has become such a big thing where it's like they're announcing like what animatronics will be in the store,
Exactly.
what Funko Pops they'll be having this year, like like what the locations will be. You know, the first one reopened. It's like I mean, I guess like the internet has made it such a big
A big thing.
a big thing.
Even, and more people being on the negative side of it, but anytime a big major thing closes or a building closes and then you get the memes of them putting a Spirit Halloween on top of it,
Yeah.
which I am obsessed with. But yes, I also saw a TikTok of them showing kind of their animatronics that are coming out, and it just makes me so jealous for like people like you guys who have houses and can decorate them, because that's literally the only reason I want a house. I will go broke in this economy, this housing market, just to have a 16-foot skeleton in the front of my house.
Yeah.
I will be that house.
Growing up, did your parents decorate the house for Halloween? Like, was Halloween big in your house growing up?
Because I grew up in church, it wasn't as big, but I am grateful that my parents at least let me trick or treat when I was a little kid. But they never really decorated for Halloween, which I think is why I want to decorate so much for Halloween.
Sure.
Same with Christmas too. I was like, you guys, we got to put a light or something outside. We got this big yard. I want all the things. But did y'all have a lot of decorations growing up?
Not particularly. I feel like my mom had more of like cutesy stuff, but it wasn't really like I want that 40. I don't think it's 40 feet. What is it? 10 feet? I don't know. 20 feet. I want that big Home Depot skeleton.
Yeah, it's 16 feet.
Hang out.
16. Yes.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, that's
Because
I want that.
one of our crew members in Hamilton bought that skeleton and put it inside the theater backstage with like LED lights that were on it, so it was looking around too, and it was the greatest thing.
Amazing.
Ever.
Give it to me.
Truly. What about you, Brian? Did you have a lot of decorations?
Yeah, in elementary school, we used to put graves in the front yard, and
Nice.
we had a Bates Motel sign in the window.
Yes.
That was my first parlor. No, but we put a Bates Motel sign in the window. We had like ghosts and like you remember the old paper ones that had like fasteners in all of the joints that you could like position.
Oh yes,
like
yeah,
on the
like,
door
all
and stuff
around.
like that.
That was
We
some
had
good skeletal acting.
Thank you. For all of you watching on YouTube, hi YouTube.
Hey.
Hi YouTube.
Skeleton.
We're on YouTube, so you can see all my skeleton moves. Dem bones.
Them bones.
But yeah, and then we would, we would trick or treat house to house, all that stuff. But then I would say in middle school, we stopped like decorating the house as much. And then in high school, we didn't decorate the house. But like when we were younger, yeah, we were really very much into it. I was kind of bummed when like we stopped trick or treating, but like, but like at the time, like yeah, it is what it is. And now I still want to go trick or treating, but it would probably be inappropriate.
Maybe a little bit. Honestly, you know what? I'm not huge on kids, but the only time I think of having kids is just so that I can take them trick-or-treating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's literally all I want a kid for. So maybe just
you
like...
could probably volunteer for something like...
I literally was
Halloween
thinking
night.
that, like borrow a child for... just...
Yeah, that's got to be an app that like should not exist. Yeah. That,
should...
like,
if you need a babysitter for trick or treating, like I will take your kids. I will take your kids trick or treating.
I used to babysit on Halloween a lot, actually, in high school.
And you survived?
The parents would go to I know. That's an excellent point. I didn't watch slashers. Remember, that's only recent. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Got it.
But I used to babysit on Halloween for our neighbors because they would all go to like the parents' Halloween party. So I would babysit and like I would do all of the trick or treating with the kids, and then I would give the candy out when we got back and stuff like that.
Nice.
Wait, no, I didn't trick or treat with the kids. The parents took them earlier, and then I would come and babysit, but I would hand out the candy with the kids, and they were still dressed up and stuff like that. It was fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, sit and enjoy the night, watch some more little spooky Halloween-themed episodes of stuff. It's my kind of time. And we're almost there. Super excited. Well, we're not quite in Halloween yet, but of course we're still talking about spooky spook stuff. So today, we are talking about the 2012 supernatural horror film, Sinister.
Ooh, Bughuuled!
Bughuuled! All hail Bughuuled!
Don't get Bughuuled. Jamie and I now say don't get Bughuuled.
That's genius. That's absolutely genius. Don't get Bughuuled.
Or like Bughabagool.
Oh my god.
Right?
The Babagool.
The Babagool.
Oh my god. Yeah, they should join forces.
Yeah, like
Mr. Robert Duke and Mr. Ghoul.
Yeah, with Tony Soprano.
That is a crossover
Bughabagool.
event I would watch.
Absolutely. Who can we talk to? We got to make this stuff happen. We need a list to keep. Amazing. So Sinister was directed by one Scott Derrickson and written by C. Robert Cargill and Derrickson, excuse me, while I choke on my own spit like a 5-year-old. It stars...
Don't get Bughuuled.
Yeah, don't get Bughuuled.
I watched the images. We're all cursed. So this stars one Ethan Hawke, which I did not realize, so I was very surprised when he popped up on my screen.
Well, Scott Derrickson also directed The Black Phone.
Oh! I was like, this name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Got
the first Doctor Strange movie.
And Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Which I loved.
I've never seen it.
Oh, we
It was
have to do that
great.
for the podcast.
We gotta put it on the list.
Poop. It scared the poop out of me when I saw it.
We'll do that. We also got a request for Mama with Jessica Chastain. Which I've never
Oh, that's
seen.
right. Okay.
Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, I haven't either, but Jamie has.
Oh, I've seen it many times.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we got to remember these. We got.
I wrote 'em down.
slots to fill.
Someone write them down.
beautiful.
Oh,
I did.
producer Brian.
I did. It's on the air table.
Wonderful. Okay, Ethan Hawke's not the only person in this, so it's Juliet, Juliet Raylands, Fred Thompson, James Ranson, Claire Foley, and Michael Hall. This is an Italian name, so I'm trying to do it justice, but Dario or Diario? Wow, I'm trying.
Is it
I can't.
Diadario?
Diadario? Okay. Not Diadario? Am I being too fancy?
I like the way that you say
I like the
Okay.
fanciness.
Fancy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's go with Diadario with a nice rolled R
Adario.
in it. Adario.
Also,
Adalia.
Kingpin.
Kingpin?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh yeah. Why isn't he listed in this little?
Because he's like a
title?
cameo. He's like only via Skype.
Oh, okay.
He's uncredited on this. That's wild.
Dang.
What? Why? I
So
don't
many
even
lines.
understand that.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Maybe that's why people
Weird.
are on strike. Uncredited things. What are y'all doing? Great. So heavy spoilers for everything that is Sinister, and trigger warnings. Jamie, can you give those to us, please?
Yes. This contains what is like a series of snuff films. So it's not real, to preface that, but like that's the vibe of the movie. So it's like these short snippets of like very disturbing things on film. So it's a lot of insides on the outside, or blood and gore. What is this rated?
13?
I'm assuming it's Blumhouse, so I would have guessed that it's
13?
Yeah, but I'll check for you. I always mean.
Oh no,
to
it says
check
it's rated R on the Googles.
Yeah, because I was
it's rated
thinking
R.
about it.
Never mind.
Because
I
they
take that
show
back.
a lot. I wonder if it's like the level of gore, and because it's like children are the ones who are like, a lot of the children are facilitating, but also are being killed in these videos.
It made a lot of money for an R movie. It cost $3 million probably before the marketing budget, and it made $87.7 million.
That's like, I mean, that's
good.
Blumhouse.
That's
That
the
literally
Blumhouse.
is Blumhouse. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that's the Blumhouse way.
excellent. He's very good at turning a small budget into a big box office hit. So that's his bread and butter. I was curious because I wasn't actually sure, only because like there's children involved in this, and I feel like that kind of bumps it up to the R rating. So some of the various murders include drowning, throat slitting, being chopped up by an axe,
Car fires.
car on fire, and a hanging. I think those are all of them.
It's like all the days of Christmas.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a snuff film of a murder.
Bughuuled!
So that's the contents of the videos. But on top of that, we also have like a cult.
Now, if I ever watch this again, the final jump scare when he like pops his head in, I'm only gonna hear Nikisha's voice go Bughuuled.
Fantastic.
More beguiling. But yes, there's like some. They talk about the murders related as like a cult, like satanic kind of thing, which the Satan is Bughuuled. I don't even know. It's like this obscure thing. The eater of children. So there's references to references to eating children. Also, again, all of the murders you find out later are facilitated by children. So another trigger warning is children murdering, adults and children. And there's a snake, there's a Rottweiler, and am I missing any other imagery?
Being a bad husband and father.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
There's cops in this. I think that's it. There's also some drawings of the murders as well.
Spooky drawings.
Yeah.
Spooky dooky drawings.
Children in boxes.
That's everything. How does he get out like?
How does he get
I'm not
out
flexible enough.
backwards?
Yeah. The yoga of it all, I don't really know.
Flexibility,
No one knows.
don't have it, but kudos to him. He never missed a class. Great. So before we get into all that, well, producer Brian, give us some words, and then we'll chat about some things we saw this week.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, hi everybody, we're on YouTube, waving to you. You can rewind and watch me do the skeleton again. But you can follow us on all social media at Talk Horror Pod. We're on Instagram, we are on Twitter or X or whatever it's being called now. We're on Threads. We're also, of course, on TikTok. Definitely follow us on Instagram or TikTok. We're doing a lot of fun stuff there. So we're almost at 16K. Very exciting. Thank you all for your following and being big been listeners and followers. We really appreciate you a lot. Yeah, that's where you can find us.
Wonderful. Well, you guys took a little spooky trip last week. Y'all want to talk about what happened? Where'd you go? Things you saw? I know some of it is on the TikTok, so make sure y'all follow that. But what happened?
Jamie? Oh, yeah. We
Silence.
We took a trip to Maine. We love Maine. We talked it was summer, so we were more like on the lake on a boat and like eating lobster and stuff like that. However, we did, Maine spooky, obviously Stephen King stuff. We talked a lot about Mr. King while we were up there, and what our favorite movies are, what our favorite stories are of his. And then we also we did a lighthouse tour, a self-guided lighthouse tour, which was really fun. And it's very old up there. Like, it's the old, it's literally called Portland, like a land of ports. Like, it's super, super old, and you have all the nautical fisherman stuff. Like, every building is old and historic up there. Like, it's 100. Everything is 100% haunted. And like, even though like we didn't do any ghost tours or anything like that, like you just get a sense of everything being haunted. I went on some hikes with the puppy, and like, was in the woods. It's like, the woods are scarier in Maine, I'll tell you that. But also the air was wonderful. But yeah, we had a great time. Oh, you know what I mentioned? I read a spooky book.
You read a spooky book?
Yeah, I read Max Brooks's Devolution. Max Brooks also wrote World War Z.
Nice.
Which is awesome. But I had a great time reading the book. I bought it 2 years ago and didn't read it, and finally read it. It's about a fake. Basically, it's a first-hand account of a fake Bigfoot massacre. So like Mount Rainier explodes, and it makes all the Bigfoot kind of, which people didn't know existed, like start to attack this like little community that has been off the grid. And it's told from the perspective of somebody afterwards finding all this out. They found the journal of this woman who was keeping notes of everything that was happening, and then him interviewing people around the massacre and stuff like that. So it cuts back and forth between this woman's journal and then this guy's interviews with people like who knew them and whatnot. It's really, really good. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. How did you find out about the book?
Max Brooks, I really like. He wrote World War Z, and I loved World War Z. And then I saw that he was releasing a new book in like 2021, and so I bought it. He's also Mel Brooks's son.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
No.
Yeah, so I read a book.
Love it. I wish I was more of a book reader, because sometimes I'll pass book talk, but it's always the spooky books. So just horror movie themed. And so I think, looks probably great to read, but maybe I'll have to try this one.
It's very good. And if anyone listening has any suggestions, not Stephen King, but any other spooky books that are short, pack a punch, please let me know. I'm looking for some other stuff to read. I've gotten some really good ones on TikTok, so I appreciate that.
Amazing. Well, okay, I have to tell this story live on here. I already told you guys via text, but I just need to, because this is going off of, I think it was our last episode that we recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so last time Brian was talking about how he watched this movie called Frozen, and not to be confused with the animated Frozen. It's just people get stuck on a ski lift, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And they're just fighting for their lives. Okay. And he said it's just one of those movies where you don't have to think about it, but if you're into that kind of just little wacky horror movie, then or people making stupid decisions, I think is what you said. It's like, this is the thing for you. And so I was like, okay, I have to tell my father this, because he loves going on websites like Tubi and watching these kinds of movies where people are making very, very dumb decisions in horror movies. So I told my dad. I talked to him a couple of days later, and he said, oh, I was looking up that Frozen movie. And so he has Amazon Fire Stick, and where they, illegally do this stuff, put movies on there. But he clicked on the movie Frozen, and I was like, Dad, make sure that you don't get it confused with the animated one, because there is an animated one of the same name, but this is about people in a ski lift. He says, all right, Nikisha, I looked it up and I saw the description, and it said, yay, people are stuck in a ski lift in the snow and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, I clicked on it, and after a couple minutes, I thought, why would Nikisha tell me to watch this? This is animated and there's people are singing. And he was like, yeah, the first 15 minutes, I was like, why would Nikisha have me watch this? And so then I was like, well, Dad, yeah, I told you it's the animated one. And he was like, yeah, no, I know they must have uploaded the wrong movie, because the description was the right one. But when you click on it, it's the animated movie. And he said, well, anyway, I watched the whole thing and I loved it. I'm going to watch Frozen 2. So, Brian, you have now introduced my father to animated Frozen, and to even emphasize this more, my father, as if you've listened to this podcast, you know, he was a police officer his entire life. Very stern man, very heavy, masculine energy, but he said that he loved Frozen, and now he's going to watch Frozen 2, so I will keep you updated when he watches Frozen 2.
But he still has to watch like other Frozen.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was trying to find it. He legitimately was trying to find it and thought he found it, but he found something better. Adina Menzel singing "Let It Go."
That's incredible.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's get into Sinister, because that's what we're all here for. We need a 2-minute plot summary. Who's got it?
What's the plot?
This is your first time seeing it, right, Nikisha?
Yes.
Then you do it.
Okay, this is going to be an interesting time.
Yeah, don't get gobbled. Bughuuled.
Babagool.
Babagool.
All right. 2 minutes on the clock for the plot. Go.
It opens up with a family being hung, unfortunately, and it's through this videotape. Then we cut to this house. This family is moving into it. Ethan Hawke and his family. He is a true crime writer. He's written a couple books. His first one was successful. His last 2 were not. This is his 4th attempt at writing this story so that he can get back on top and be famous again. And so the house they move into is the house that we see at the beginning where the people are being hung. So he is trying to write his book. He is unpacking some stuff in an attic. He finds some tapes. And so he plays these tapes and finds out that it's videos of not only the murder that happened with people being hung, but all of these other murders with these families. And so now he's thinking, oh, I got something even bigger than what I thought that I had. Let me dig in deeper into this. So then he enlists the help of Deputy so-and-so to try to figure out these murders and what is happening. And so in the midst, the deeper he goes into finding out what's happening, spooky stuff starts happening inside the house. He's seeing some things. His kids are seeing some things. His son is having night terrors. His wife is like, we have to get out of this house. This is crazy. He's like, no, I'm onto something. But eventually he gets so spooked himself that he says, we have to leave. I'm going to burn these tapes. He burns them. They move back into their old house. But no, the thing is still up and around. And so apparently he finds out that anyone who has watched these tapes, their kids become possessed and kills the family. Also, I forgot to mention that in all these murders, a child is missing. But the child that is missing is the one that actually committed the murders and is captured by this pagan deity called Bughuuled. And so the end is not a happy one. The daughter is possessed and chops up the family with an axe, and Bughuuled is still alive and capturing kids and possessing them, and we'll just move on to the next family, and that is Sinister.
That was great. That was a really good recap.
Off the dome, baby.
That was really good.
Yay. Sometimes I have to prepare. I did not prepare for this one.
That's the plot.
No, that was
Great.
really
That was
good.
great.
I thought that was excellent.
Great.
And they're also, I don't know if this matters, but they're Super 8 footage and not like tapes.
Yes. Super 8 footage.
Which they actually did.
They filmed those on Super 8?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
work. Amazing. Just the fact that, and we'll get into this when we talk about it, but just the fact that when he first discovers the Super 8s and then immediately just knows how to put everything together and like set up the whole thing, I was like,
and digitize them.
Right. I was like,
Not
okay.
Not me.
No, not at all. It would be so many Google searches and I still would probably have messed something up, smudged something. Great. So let's get into our first segment of likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Jamie, would you like to start and also tell us your relationship with this movie if you've seen it before?
Sure. I saw this in theaters. I was in grad school when this movie came out, and I saw it in theaters, and my chest hurt really bad because I was really spooked. It was very scary to me at the time. Even though this was like post-college, so in theory I was less afraid of things, but I didn't know what to expect, so I found it very scary the first time I watched it. And I mean, I still think it's scary, but I think, like, obviously I know when the jump scares are happening now, so like the impact of the jump scares are less so. However, there's still definitely some scenes that get me. Shout out to the lawnmower scene. That always gets me. I literally, when I watch that part of the movie, I have to plug my ears because the shift from no sound to sound is so jarring that I just like, I find that very overstimulating. So I was like watching it with my ears plugged in. But that being said, I like this movie. There are some parts that I think are less good, but I guess that's why we have a likes and gripes segment. So
exactly.
There we go. My first note that I made of this movie is in all caps, and I showed it to Brian. Bad husband.
Bad
husband. I'm sure we can dig deep into this, but he sucks. He just sucks. He sucks. Something that I like, but also makes me deeply uncomfortable, kind of related to the lawnmower scene, is like the music from the Super 8 videos is so creepy. It's like, I can't tell if it's someone that's like making weird rhythmic sounds with their mouths or like what is happening, how they like do the audio for those parts, but I hate them. I hate every time that they show us the Super 8s. It's so eerie and deeply unsettling. Obviously, we're also like you're so uncomfortable because you feel like you're watching this like snuff film thing, but like the audio, I hate it. And
each one of those videos to me felt like its own little haunted house, which
yes.
I really liked. Whether it's a different room in the haunted house or like, I don't know, like a 70s, 60s, 80s, whatever I forget the years that they all happened.
Yeah.
But I really liked that aspect of it too, Jamie.
Yeah. My next note is boy emerging from box. How? I'm always just like, how did they? I always wonder, like, did they film it backwards? Because, like, how is his body coming out that way?
I don't know.
And like, it's just a box. It's, I mean, like, unless they like,
what's in the box?
I mean, a little boy.
Oh, not that movie.
But that scene's always weird. So bad husband. Why is he a bad husband? I wrote down one of his quotes where he said it was bound to happen, and I think that's in response to the first time that his son is having a night terror in the house and he's talking to his wife about it. But like, it's just like a comment like that where it's just a complete disregard for like the situation, even though they know it's a night terror. Like, this is also like a big life transition for everyone, including the kids. They have to like start over. They're leaving behind all of their friends and like their routines and things that they're used to.
Yep.
And like stress is definitely something that impacts sleep in a variety of ways, including night terrors. So like, just to kind of say that feels so flippant and like just disregarding and like not caring, essentially. So like, not only is he a bad husband, but like in that moment he just seems like a really disconnected father. He's so self-absorbed. like everything is all about him, and like it's clear that there's this dynamic of like his partner is supporting his dream of wanting to, you know, write another book, and like how all of that leads to them having to move, but like he's just not thinking about anybody else, literally anybody else. He starts off this movie by lying to his wife about where they're living because, you know, the semantics of it, which is so fucked up. And then like he doesn't care that like the cops don't like him. He doesn't care that like his kids are eventually going to find out about you know, the content of what he's writing about. Like he just doesn't care about the thing that he's seeking destroying everybody around him, because it's not just about the justice of it all. When later on they get into like that clip that they play of him previously being on TV, and I wrote down like, why are you doing it? He said, quote, fame and money. Pause. No, just kidding. And it's like, no, that's the real answer.
No, that's
like,
the real answer.
He's
Yeah.
truly only doing this for the fame. He's picking these like big, juicy, glory-seeking true crime stories, real people, and then exploiting them for fame and money. Like, that's what he's about. But he's, like, lying to himself so hard in order to lie to everybody around him to justify doing this, because it's like, oh, this is definitely gonna, you know, I'm doing this in service of my family. I care so deeply for it. But, like, you don't. In the day-to-day, in the moments where it really matters, you don't care about your family. You still only care about the fame and the money.
Do you think that I don't know the answer to this, that's why I'm proposing it, but the Ellison character, the Ethan Hawke character, do you think that he's actually being presented as a non-likable main character? Like, do they think they wanted you to empathize with him at all? Like does, because Ethan Hawke is so likable and such an excellent actor, do you feel like that makes up for it? And that's a part of his, what he has to do. He's a flawed individual who leads his family into death because of his own ego, but like, do we like him enough to be engaged in the plot, if that makes sense?
I mean, you're engaged in the plot because like, I think part of it is they drop the original like true crime story first. And so like you're engaged in the plot because there's a mystery there. It's like what happened to the daughter. And he's like trying to solve it. But then around that you find out that he's a complete piece of shit. So it's like the one person who in theory is like trying to figure out what happened is also deeply unlikable. But like he's the only person seemingly in this moment that we know of that's like following the story and getting more information. I feel like that's part of what makes it compelling, but I do not think that it's because he is compelling or likable. I think that he is intentionally dislikable, which also then justifies the end. Like separately, I know I've talked about this before, but I know the value of a horror movie where it doesn't have a happy ending. Like as a movie, like I think that there are really good movies. I don't like those movies personally as much because I look to movies as an escape, and I don't need reality to be hitting me in the face in my escapism. So I prefer my movies to have happy endings. That being said, I don't feel as badly about this ending because he's unlikable, and I feel like that's intentional. Because there are other movies where, and I feel like that also adds to the rewatchability of this movie, and it kind of gaining this like this cult status because there's more like of an ability to buy into it because he sucks, and you're like, yeah, fuck that guy, like he deserves this. He got himself into this mess because he sucks. And like, this is what happens to you. And like, yeah, he, you know, like doomed to him, like that's what you get. And I feel like that's like, you only get that if there's like something compelling you to like, be like, yeah, that he deserved this. Whereas like, if there's somebody that you feel like is undeserving of it, I mean, the rest of his family is undeserving of it, but like he's the one that we're following. So I feel like that's that makes it like more digestible as opposed to like characters that you like really love and you don't want bad things to happen to.
Yeah, it's like there's the justice coming in. It's him at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate that he dragged his family down with him.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say, sorry, Brian, to your point about just Ethan Hawke as an actor, he as a person, he is charming. So in just watching it, even though he makes terrible decision, except for when he finally is like, let's get out of the house. Like, I was like, finally, yes, a good decision is being made. But even when we first start out in the movie, I think it's just because it's him as a person. I will like always enjoy him.
Yeah.
But by the time he's like ignoring that his kids are actually having night terrors or acting out in ways, and then you're like, okay, well, you're just being terrible and not thinking about your family. Like, you are absolutely thinking about yourself. But just to go back and say, for Brian's point of like him being an actor, I definitely was like, oh, Ethan Hawke. Like I said, I didn't know he was in this movie. So he comes out and I'm like, oh, this is great. He's going to solve a murder. It's going to be a fun time, fun ride. And it's like, okay, this was a ride.
I also want to
He
add...
did solve the murder, though.
He did.
yeah.
He figured it out with the help of It
Google.
Cop. Or It Chapter 2.
Yes.
So, something that I also want to point out that we haven't talked about yet, and I think it's just very interesting, is that they did a study they first did this study back in 2020. What is the scariest horror movie by average heart rate? So they took the heart rates of people watching what are considered to be the scariest movie, and Sinister won in terms of like the heart rate. Maybe it's the amount of jump scares or whatever it is. It has since been dethroned. They did this again like last year or 2 years ago.
They've done it, I think, every year ever since.
Last I
perfect.
checked, it was dethroned by Host.
Oh.
I think it. I can't remember if that's still true. But yes, I remember that. They also do it by like average heart rate and then also peak heart rate. So like what was the highest that like the heart rate went up to, and then on average what was it over the course of the movie? But both, I mean, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's right now the article I'm looking at was dated August 17th of 2022. And the top ones are, number 1 is Host, number 2 is Sinister, and then I'll just read down from here. Insidious, The Conjuring, Hereditary, Terrified, It Follows, A Quiet Place Part 2, Paranormal Activity, and The Conjuring 2.
Quiet Place Part 2. Interesting.
Yeah. Although Insidious had the biggest spike, and I'm assuming it's from that one jump scare.
Yep.
That had the highest spike in general, but I thought that was interesting. And I just think that's interesting context around like this movie's cult status and things. Like that.
Right. Well, I'll also just add really quickly to the jump scare aspect of it, because there are a lot of jump scares, but in one of my notes, truly it seems like the music adds even more to the scare than the scare itself. So for me, it was literally just the fact that it's so quiet a lot, and then there's like a huge bang out of nowhere, whether it is the ghost like or Bughuuled coming out, you know, at the end, or when he's in the attic, you know, and he falls off of the he got Bughuuled. So I think that when you have a good kind of like soundtrack to it too, then it just adds another level of like the scare, as far as just having like the image coming about, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. But sorry, keep going with your likes and gripes, Jamie.
What else? One gripe is like when he's looking through all of these videos and he like is zooming stuff on his Mac. I'm like, that's not how zooming works. That's like watching a CSI and being like, type, enhance, type,
Yes.
Like, that is not how any of this works. That's very silly.
So on my likes and gripes, I also have in all caps enhance, only because Jamie says it during the movie. Like anytime that somebody like
obsessed
is like zooming in on something that like you can't really do, she's like enhance. Enhance.
Yeah.
It is very funny.
Because it's
Love
silly, and that's not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Enhance. It's like a Minority Report.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever. Another thing that kind of annoys me, but like I guess I can't really tell if like he is just primed to all of the scary things that are happening, but like how does nobody else in this house ever hear any sounds?
That's what I
There's
said.
like 1,000 like
Yes.
He fell
things
out of the
happening.
attic.
Yeah, he fell out of a hole. Like, I don't understand. Oh, wow, my whole camera went, like, was confused that I was banging on stuff. I just, like, don't understand that this person makes the loudest crash bang sounds and hears the loudest crash bang sounds, and no one's blinking an eye.
No one.
Are they all wearing, like, headphones or, like, noise canceling?
Earplugs?
I
Yeah.
don't know. No one
Can't.
knows.
Nobody knows.
So that seems silly. Also, when he first discovers the top of the box that has the kids' drawings of each of the murders, there's a Mr. Boogie drawn into each of the murders, like the perspective of somebody else outside of the family who is watching all of them, that says Mr. Boogie. And he like doesn't he acknowledges it in the later scene, but like they make a point to like look through all of the pictures, and he just like doesn't think anything about it, which I find super weird because like what the fuck is a Mr. Boogie? Like that would be my first question of like, okay, I get it, these are all the murders, so like what is that? Like I don't know, I just wish he like called attention to it.
Sure. His full name is Bughuuled.
Mr. Bughuuled. So something that I am not really crazy about on like extra watches, and maybe this is partially because I was like influenced by podcasts that I was listening to more recently, but I don't find the little like haunted children as scary as maybe I did like on the first watch. And I know some of it is like they're part of the jump scares, but I feel like they just look kind of silly with like their makeup and like their weird like pseudo doll plasticky faces and like dark under eyes. And I feel like that kind of when they're like shh. I feel like there's something about it that like doesn't feel as scary, or like it feels similar to the like Insidious purgatory like scenes where like he's in the further and it's like the people who are just like sitting there and then they're just like then they all get shot and then they do the creepy smile. Like that's kind of what it feels like, but that in Insidious also felt silly, so I feel like that's partially why it's like this feels a little like James Wanian, but like it feels like more on the silly side versus the spooky side. But that's I don't know, I think that's after like a few times where I was like, these jump scares don't feel as effective as some of the other ones. I think like in the Super 8s or
If I can jump in there for just a second, ooh splash. This was only my second time watching this movie, and I will say my hot take about Sinister is that I don't think it has as much of a rewatch value when it comes to the narrative as it does to the jump scares, because once you know the mystery, the movie is not as interesting, because then you're just kind of put off by how awful Ellison is, and you already know the ending. And I also agree with Jamie that like the little kids at the end don't get me as much, but the jump scares, especially in the Super 8s, are still wildly effective. And I think this is a way better experience on first viewing than subsequent viewings. But I still like it.
That.
Don't get me wrong. Like I still like this movie a lot. Like this is like 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. Like this is like an excellent movie. I'm just putting an asterisk next to that, where like once you know the mystery, it definitely is not as engaging multiple viewings.
And that was a hot take.
You can still like stuff and be critical of it.
That's true.
That's
just
why we're
like
here.
when I look in the mirror.
Oh God.
That
You
one
gotta talk to your own therapist about that. My only other thing that I think I do like is that like Ethan Hawke's character underestimates the deputy because he kind of comes across a little bit fumbling in the beginning, like a little doofy.
Barney Fifey.
And then later on, it's like, oh, he's actually smarter than you think, and I like the way that they play that, especially because Ethan Hawke's character is becoming more like disconnected from reality and like terrified. So like those conversations, I feel like really grow on me.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Fantastic. I'll go because you said a lot of the things that I've already had, so I'll just piggyback off of it, and to say again that this is my first time watching it, and so
I'm really interested.
Brian, I'm really interesting. I'm really interested.
I meant to say.
Yes. So when Brian was talking about a second watch, I absolutely agree with that. Even only have watched it once, because my last thing that I put, that this movie was a very slow burn but good. So like once you've and even in the midst of it, I was engaged because I had so many questions as to what exactly was happening, because I was trying to figure out what the rule was with this Bughuuled character, with the killings, with how the tapes were moving from house to house, and what was the connection, because like how is the ghoul targeting like these specific families, like what exactly is happening, but you don't find all that out until the end. So I was only super interested because I wanted to know what happened at the end, and then you get the unhappy ending, which I like those kinds of movies. So I was like, oh, okay, having that ending kind of upped the rating for me. And I think if it would have gone differently, I would have not liked it as much. Because it was, like I said, just a very slow burn. But when it wraps up, it's all great. The very first scene, out the gate with the family suicide on the tree, engaged right away. So I enjoyed that at the top. I liked in the moments where he was first watching the first couple of tapes, and right before the acts of violence happened, it would pan to his glasses and you would see them through the lens of his like the reflection of his glasses, and I just thought that was a really cool shot. So I really enjoyed that. I like the theme of just like pressure for continued success, in general, and how it can kind of not only affect your family, like aside from your family, but if you are just someone in a creative space and you're trying to top yourself, how it can kind of affect not only your moral compass, but like your creativity, because then it's not about like putting art out there because you enjoy it. It's like putting it out there because you're trying to see what sticks in order for you to make money, and have the fame and stuff. And so I did like that theme overall. I don't know if it was the TV that I was watching it on, but everything was very dark. So a lot of the jump scares didn't come through as well for me, because the whole screen just felt dark, but it might have just been the TV that I was on. So I
think that's I forgot that I wrote down like it's so dark in this movie. Great. And like, why didn't he turn on lights? And there's a part where they later say like, oh, the power went out.
Yeah.
Like, how are you supposed to know that?
Right.
Yeah. It seemed like a throwaway, but
yes.
it is truly very dark at parts in this movie. It's really hard to see.
Yeah, which is going back to my other point about like the sound in the jump scares, because I couldn't see what was happening, but then a loud bang would happen, and that's what made me jump, not necessarily like what I saw, because sometimes I couldn't see the thing. So thank you for validating that for me, Jamie. Great. I also put good on them, like I said, to knowing when to leave the house before it got like super crazy, even though we didn't know that it was already crazy because you already watched the tapes. But I was happy that they made the decision to actually leave the house, because sometimes that does not happen. Also, they went back to their old house. Y'all, that house is gorgeous. Why would they ever leave the house?
That's what Jamie said.
Oh my God, it's so nice. That office was huge.
I said, y'all went from that to this. I mean, I know you had to go to that specific house because that's where like the murders happened. But my God, could you just like go there for the weekend or something, like, and go back to your own house? That was like, that's not a good people moment. Who would ever leave that house anyway?
Right.
Okay, so just to make sure that, and this is my last thing, just to make sure I understand what exactly happened. So like the first murder happened in like the 60s or whatever. Okay. like Bughuuled somehow got a child and the child killed the family, right? And it's recorded. Yes. Okay. Somebody, and so that family is gone. Somebody moves into that house, find the tapes or the Super 8 or whatever, watches it. That unleashes Bughuuled to possess another child within that family. And that kills, and then that child kills the person. Or like, I'm just trying to figure out like how it's moving from place to place. So like, if spooky things start happening because they watch the tape or whatever, or find out that somebody died in the house and so they move, right? But they already like watched the tape, so that means they're already cursed. So even though they move to another house, they're dying in that house. Is that correct?
Yeah, they die in the new house.
In the new house. Okay.
Yeah, that's why if they had stayed in that house, they may not have died, but they would have been haunted and what like that. So they move.
Oh, okay.
And then when somebody moves into the house they moved into, it that's how it spreads, I guess. Right, Jamie?
I don't know.
That's how
I
you get
really have
Bughuuled.
no idea. Like, I guess I never really thought. I never gave too much thought into like the rules of it all, because I also was like, nobody else would find, like, who else would look at these tapes? I just assumed that like, there are different ways for the main child to get possessed. I think I never thought about it because I'm trying to remember. So I've seen the sequel as well. I've seen Sinister 2.
There's a sequel?
I have not seen Sinister.
And it makes me think that like they give there is a sequel. It's definitely not as good in my opinion as the first one, but the deputy does return. That's like the consistent character. But I feel like there is some explanation as to like how this starts. So I'm not gonna like say any spoilers, but I think that's part of why I just like never really thought about it, because like they kind of like deepen the lore a little bit
in the second
but
one.
I never really thought about like I just never thought about the rules and thought about like this situation is so unique that anybody would like be like, how many of these people are finding these Super 8s and then realizing that this stuff is happening, and then that is like what's unleashing this creature.
I think that by moving, I'm just thinking this out loud. By moving, that allows for it's not the same house over and over again, so that people won't move in there. It's like, okay, we moved. They died in house number 2. Someone moves into house number 2, then moves to house number 3. They're killed at 3. Someone moves into 3, gets spooked, moves to 4, gets killed in 4. I think that's how it works.
Okay. That makes sense. So like they're getting spooked somehow, whether it's the tapes or whatever, and moving, but then they get killed in the other house. Okay. Truly, because I was trying to put the puzzle pieces together as I was watching it, just like Ethan Hawke. Like, what exactly is happening? I need more of a connection. But and all that to say, like, I didn't need to know all the answers to enjoy it. Like, I still enjoyed it, but it gave me enough information at the end to where I was like, oh, okay. But I just wanted to do a live cap of your thoughts on the rules of that, because I was like, I don't know. So maybe I'll just watch Sinister 2 and then I'll have all my answers.
That's why we have a podcast. We got to talk out the gabagool of it all.
Exactly. Great. Yeah. That's all of my likes and gripes. Brian?
Sure. I'll go through these quickly because a lot of it overlaps with the two of you just said. I really like this movie. As I mentioned, I don't think it holds up as well on a second viewing. But again, that's just me. I think that found footage was so popular at the time and still is. I love the integration of found footage into a narrative. I think that was super cool and clever. I like the opening. This movie really starts very quickly. He finds the box very quickly early on. The videos themselves, as Jamie said, are just like individual kind of masterpieces in their own way of sound and images. Ethan Hawke is truly a great actor. Like, I think he balances Ellison being a jerk, but also being watchable really, really well. I think this is Scott Derrickson's best, like, of the Scott Derrickson movies I've seen, I think this one is his best.
Nice.
I mean, I guess he loves dead kids.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
I love a movie with a good kid reveals they've seen something. So when she's drawing on the walls and like talking about like her room and stuff like that, I think that's great. I think it also is a great moment because it doubles as being spooky, but it doubles as being spooky and the wife catching him in the lie that this is the house. I thought that their argument was really authentic. I think the two of them really ground this movie, the parents, really well in general.
Yeah.
And the jump scares are great. Specifically, my two favorites are the lawnmower. I love Bughuuled moving in the paused video.
Yeah, in the video.
Yeah, when he's like going down like tie a shoe or check something and it moves. I think that is like I think that's wonderful. I think it's like that's like don't get Bughuuled.
Don't get Bughuuled. I was thinking don't wake daddy.
Oh, don't get Bughuuled.
Oh, it kind of sounds like Time Warp.
Don't get Bughuuled in this house. Don't get Bughuuled in this house. Hey, you gonna try the Bughuuled? I love this movie now.
Oh God.
All right. So my gripes. Bad partner. We talked about this. He's a monster person. Doesn't kiss his kids goodnight when asked. Rude. Bad father.
Rude.
The thing is, the wife also says she doesn't want to know, and he still lies to her at the very beginning. Like he goes out of his way to tell a lie, even she's like, you know what? Don't even tell me. Like,
right.
That, like, it's like that means he knows he did something wrong. He's feeling guilty, so he lies about it just to misdirect. The kids didn't do it for me the second time through this time. Like, the spooky kids. They just felt weird and silly and fake. Yeah, he handles all situations poorly. Like, he leaves the bat in the backyard. Like, come on, bro.
Yes.
Like, that, yeah. Oh, slow motion kids did not read well to me. Like, the little kids, like, slow motion around him.
Oh, yeah. That's, like, I don't think that part is spooky at all.
No, I had to read up on that one. Slow-mo. Yeah, not for me. My question for you all is how would you rank Bughuuled? Like in the scheme of like horror monsters and ghosts and goblins and ghouls, how would you write Bughuuled? How would you rank him? You don't have to like high, mid, low.
I'd say mid.
Yeah, mid.
Like, you're using kids. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But
his name is the coolest thing about him.
Is it?
I agree. Yes.
Maybe he also is like spooky Keanu Reeves with the long hair.
But he doesn't really have a mouth.
Yeah,
what?
I mean, like the long, like stringy hair, like John Wick.
Yes.
He's like the John Wick Bughuuled. He's like Baba Yaga.
Oh my God. I mean, I can see it. Maybe that was Keanu Reeves. He just was an uncredited name as Bughuuled in this.
Bughuuled.
But I'd definitely say mid for. There's other great people out there, other good ghosts and goblins.
Yeah. Who's our best ghost? Goblin. No, he's
like
neither.
actual ghost.
He's
Ghost?
like a. What is he? He's an occult. Like
Yeah, he's a pagan. Bughuuled is a deity, pagan.
There we go.
Yeah.
Do we have any other good deities in the? What's his face from Hereditary, who we got again recently?
Yes.
Oh my God.
What is his name?
Payman.
Payman.
Yes.
Payman. Hey.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know if this counts. He's more of a demon, but I love Toby from the Paranormal Activity series.
Oh, Toby.
Oh,
Toby. What are you
Toby.
getting into, Toby? Toby's a freak.
Toby's a freak.
Toby's a freak because he watches people doing
Yeah,
things.
Doing
he's
the
a,
things.
He's literally
Yeah.
a freak in the sheets.
Oh my god.
You heard it here first,
Because
folks.
he's a ghost.
Oh, he's a freak in the sheets.
Yeah.
Ah. But he's on the he's a subcategory because he's a demon. He's not like running the
Yeah,
show.
it's not
you know
like
what
a
I mean?
deity. I'm trying to think of like what other like
I know.
like
Well, in the the Conjurings, those are all just like demons.
yeah, those are all demons.
Yeah. I mean, if we still are talking about demons in general, our drag race winner
Oh,
from Insidious,
yeah, the red and black face.
the red face, yes,
Drag queen.
yes,
Yeah, totally.
but
These are excellent,
Fantastic.
excellent answers. I know we're missing some like
Of
very
course.
big ones, no question.
we'll go back. Y'all tell us on the TikToks.
Yeah,
give
for
us
sure.
give us your favorite pagan deity on the social medias. Great. Well, if that's it for our likes and gripes, let's get into our next section, which is brains.
Tasty.
Always. Okay, so I want to start off with this question because Jamie already kind of brought it up, but if you could go into detail about night terrors, because you were just talking about what could cause it potentially. I know this is outside of your realm of expertise, but because night terrors are caused by some type of mental stress or trauma, can you just elaborate on that a little bit for me, please?
Yeah. I can elaborate that this is not my expertise, but
Yes.
I did look it up on the good old Schmoogle machine, and
Yes.
it's they actually say that like the cause is unknown, but it's often triggered by like lack of sleep or like periods of stress and conflict and tension. They usually happen in the first half of the night, whereas nightmares I think typically happen during REM sleep.
That makes sense.
And like most common in the early morning. So like those are some of the differences. It also says that night terrors are more common in pre-adolescent boys. So like again, it tracks for this movie. It says it's fairly common in children ages 3 to 5.
That's so. Does it give a reason why that's the case?
Mm-mm.
They're just like, no, it's just common
Yeah.
for them to just be screaming in the middle of the night at
That
no
is
responsibilities.
Acceptable. I need a reason.
I need a reason. You're what, adolescents? You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to deal with the housing market or student loans. Why are you having night terrors?
Great question. Yeah, just
Excellent questions.
sleep deprivation, tiredness,
Okay.
schedule disruptions, fever. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Before
mean, it's-
before we go
Yes.
to your next question, some other ones I thought of: deities or gods, or I guess devils.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about other sleep disorders.
Yeah.
No, you have Black Phillip.
Tell us, Brian.
You have Black Phillip if you want to live
Oh.
deliciously
From VVH.
from VVH.
VVH.
Also, we haven't done it on this podcast, and maybe we should because it's really good. The Taking of Deborah Logan, wasn't it like that guy who was trying to become immortal was trying to call on like Native American gods or something like that to give him immortality. I guess spoiler alert for Deborah Logan. Sorry, everyone. But that's another one. That's all I got. I'll stop now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
We should do The Taking of Deborah Logan. I love that movie. It was so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is maybe kind of a group discussion, but also, Jamie, your thoughts. So it's about true crime. And so we talk a lot about people who watch scary movies, and there are studies about like people with anxiety who watch scary movies because it's like a safe danger. And so like, you know what's going to happen, or you know that you're safe, and people just like participate in scary movies for that reason because it's their form of kind of escapism, or whatever. So they're not like terrified by them. But so I would like to offer up a conversation about people who like true crime. because as someone who is not a super fan of true crime, because it's actually true and real, that is the thing that scares me. It's like, this actually happened in our world, but there are people who are like, this is my comfort, calm down time with, you know, a glass of wine and some popcorn. So Jamie, would you like to just elaborate on like why people might be so drawn to true crime things?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really good question. No, I mean, like, I do see it as like kind of that similar, like, I think that there is something to like anxiety and trying to like control things to manage anxiety, and like hearing about things to like be better prepared, if you will. It's like, oh, the more information I have, like, does that then help me? Or at least like, I, speaking personally in any like true crime thing that I've ever listened to in the past, like that's usually where that's driven from. But I think like that's not the case for everybody. I also think that like there is this morbid curiosity in like horrible things, especially
just like why people do the things they do.
Yeah, and like what the things are. You know, like more recently it wasn't even like true crime. It was like a TV show on Netflix, like the Dahmer TV show, which I didn't watch.
Oh,
but there was like
that.
this huge, like this really, what I would say is like this intense following of it, where like people were like super into it. And I think that's where it's like this weird not weird, but like this fascination with, you know, like these topics that are morbid and like creepy.
Well, taking it one step further, people are obsessed with this Long Island serial killer, like right in their backyard, you know, like happening in the news right now.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that one.
I didn't either. Oy. I mean, and it's one thing, like, to your point, Jamie, I understand that some people want to be prepared, or just in the know of things that have happened, you know, just to, you know, help themselves try not to get into those kinds of situations. So it is maybe kind of a form of controlling, you know, your surroundings, your atmosphere, but still, are you guys true crime people? Do you like true crime more? Like, would you rather listen to a true crime or doc or pod or a scary movie?
I would prefer a scary movie. However, I have dabbled in podcasts.
Okay.
But I think that I've gotten, like, I don't really watch them. So I've listened to like some podcasts on them. But now I kind of feel weird and gross about listening to a lot of the podcasts about them. And I've kind of distanced myself, with like the only exception that I listen to is like the True Crime Obsessed, partially because like they're Broadway people, partially because they cover more than just true crime. They cover like all documentaries. Like today they released an episode on a documentary about Pornhub that was like really interesting. But like they talk about like all, like it's not like true crime. Yes, I think largely is focused on like homicide and murders and suicide and things like that. But there are other like crimes that are happening that are also featured in documentaries that maybe like,
that's fair.
You know, I don't know how much attention people place in that, but like, so yes. I like listening to this podcast because it feels further removed. Like they are talking about the documentary that they watched and like their experience and explaining it. And so like, they're not just talking about the event itself. It feels like a box in a box in a box. I'm listening to them having talked about a documentary that they watched that's about the actual event. It like feels like it's a step removed, but I do, the other part that I like about it is like actually being informed about like people's lives and like that these are real people, like that these are real victims of horrible things, and like they deserve to be known. They deserve to be remembered. Like those are the things, like I think about it from that perspective. less, and because they don't glorify any of the like icky stuff, and they really like, if something is truly like graphic and awful, like they will skip over it, because they're trying to do it in what I feel like is a respectful way, like that's how they frame it, and like I like that versus like, you know, I will, like, I absolutely admit that like the first true crime podcast I listened to My Favorite Murder for like a hot minute, and then I kind of was like, I don't think this is for me, because I think there's also like a lot of like backlash now in some of these true crime podcasts and how they present this material. But I do think that there's like something connected to like, you know, I'm an anxious person and like I want to know all the dangers that are lurking around me. But like I don't. Then it makes me feel like safer in a way. Like it takes away that degree of vulnerability because like the world itself is scary constantly all around me all the time. So it's like, well, at least I know like here's something. Even though like again, it's not on me to have to always like do all of this stuff. Like other people just shouldn't do bad things.
Well, of course, exactly. That's the main thing. Don't do bad things.
That was my parlor talk. Sorry, I really went on a parlor talk about true crime podcasts.
Come, sit, have a drink. It's parlor talk.
Which can be great. Like, I listen to the Morbid podcast sometimes because I have long drives, but mostly the reason why I listen to it is I enjoy the dynamic of the two hosts, but it's so scary and creepy. It keeps me awake for the long drives.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then I sit with that for a long time. So then it's like, okay, I got to find something else that'll keep me awake because it's too much. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but y'all, I watched The Last Call documentary on Max that's about the murders that happened in the New York area in the 90s of gay people. And to your point, Jamie, about how things are presented and not glorifying like the icky stuff, the people who were talking about it were really trying to not talk about the killer, but talk about the victims and like how much they were an important part of like the gay community in the 80s and 90s, and with everything that was happening. It still was very graphic because you have the police officers like telling you everything that happened in it.
Yeah.
But all that to say, it is something that if you don't want to hear about all that icky stuff, it just reminds me of the sound that was going around on TikTok or Instagram that's like her legs were cut off, her head was cut off, her arms were cut off. You know?
Yeah.
Have you heard that sound?
Yeah, where it's like what they think I'm listening to, and it's like cutesy upbeat music, and it's like what I'm actually listening to. Like her head was cut off, her legs were cut off, her arms were cut off. Right. And you're like doing something super chill, like washing the dishes or
exactly.
Like whatever.
Yes. Yeah. God. Yeah. Brian, do you like true crime? Are you a true crime person?
I don't seek it out.
Okay.
I will watch or listen to it when it's gotten good reviews and people are talking about it. Like
that's fair.
I listened to Dr. Death, and I've listened to Serial and S-Town and all the other stuff. Like I've watched what's the movie, like Dear Zachary or whatever it is, Zachariah.
Oh, I don't know that.
That movie will fuck you up.
Don't need it.
Yeah, like I've watched movies like that, listened to podcasts like that. But I didn't watch Dahmer or anything like that. But I do like. I like things like, you know, like Zodiac or I like the movies about them and the more artful kind of depictions of them. But I don't love the true crime stuff. I do love Only Murders in the Building.
I've never watched that.
Very
it's
fun.
Funny.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I don't.
Put it on my list.
I get my. I don't know. I think that people are obsessed with death, and because they don't know it. But death is the big question. That's why religion exists, because we don't understand death. Like, and
what a great sentence.
And I think that, like, because in order to understand death, you need to like make meaning, and meaning can be religion for a lot of people. And I think that and then branch from that becomes community and stuff like that. But the bottom line is like, You just don't understand where we came from or where we go, so we have to create something to help explain that. And I think that people are drawn to the true crime stuff because of that obsession and that morbid curiosity. And like, I also think that people like to try and think that they understand what other people are going through. I think there's an empathy there. There's also, you know, a nosy neighbor type of thing. We're all nosy neighbors.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
for
there's
sure.
Absolutely a piece of that. There's I don't. Did you? This is so random, but did you watch Jessica Jones on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so there's this character who, Mr. Purple, who basically can like get anybody to do anything, and there's a scene where we find out that somebody's family died in a car accident. I think it was Jessica's family. I don't remember, but died in a car accident. And the neighbor who still lives there when they go back to her childhood home was like, you know, I got a bad feeling that morning. Like, you know, like saying all the things that like, you know, like I knew something was going to happen. I got a bad feeling. And then Mr. Purple basically goes up to her and says like basically makes her tell the truth. And I don't remember, I'm paraphrasing this, but it stuck with me. And she said something to the effect of like, oh, I didn't know. I just like wanted to feel included in the tragedy or something like that. And to me, that just rang so true that like we listen to these things and we try to empathize with people and we make it about ourselves and how we can be involved in it. I do it all the time. I know a lot of people do it all the time. And I recognize that and I try to separate myself from that as much as I can and recognize it. But like, that's what humans do. Like, and I think that's a lot of what true crime is. Oh, I did watch The Jinx and I loved The Jinx on HBO.
I don't think. I've never heard of that.
But yeah, but I actually prefer things that are based on true stories and then going on Wikipedia and reading about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's just like, give me The Conjuring and let me look up Ed and Lorraine and
Right,
like
give me the
and what the Annabelle looked like.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm 50-50 on it. I don't seek it out, but I will listen to it if it's highly regarded.
Okay, that's fair.
Sorry, that was also a little bit of a rant, but yeah.
No, but I mean it's all great things, and just like an insight on how we view why people might, you know, attach themselves to one or the other.
But that being said, Jamie and I love found footage movies, which is this interesting combination of like fictionalized true crime, if that makes sense. I like the fictionalized aspect of like, we found this footage. We know it's not real, but like it could have been. Like whenever Jamie and I are deciding like what movie we should watch, like if it's not a brand new movie that we were interested in watching, we tend to lean towards found footage movies. Like a couple of months ago, I would say, or I can check my letterbox. Follow me, BP527. We watched like a ton of found footage in a row. We just like got into it. We watched Horror in the High Desert. We watched Willow Creek. We watched the Poughkeepsie tapes. We watched what was it, Affliction, or something like that.
Yeah. That was the vampire one.
Yeah, The Outwaters, which we didn't like, but like it was still we watched it because it was found footage. But like. And I think that ties into it. That ties into this movie Sinister, where he's essentially watching like found footage snuff films. I don't know. I like the fictionalized aspect of this is real.
Right.
Deborah Logan.
I was just going to say, because we need to do Deborah Logan because that fits. It checks all the boxes, but also it's still fictionalized, even though it's you know. So it's still a sense of like, this is not real. It's still fake, even though it looks like it's supposed to be something that's real.
Also, I don't have patience for a lot of true crime because so much of it is filler.
Yes.
You know, like that's why I like the narrative, because the narrative doesn't have the filler. They're just creating a story, beginning, middle, end. Where you'll watch some of those like documentaries or things, and it's just like you've repeated the same information. Yeah, and I get that, but like it is what it is.
Well, I will say the doc Last Call on Max, it just aired. It's only 4 parts, and it just aired its 4th part on Sunday. Was very good in just getting to the information. You still don't find out exactly like who the killer is and all this stuff until the end of the 3rd episode and then all into the 4th episode. But it didn't feel like a lot of filler. Because there are a lot of stuff that is just kind of, and then I hate the ones where they go through the whole thing and they're like, we don't know what happened. It's like, oh my god, you don't even have an answer for me. I wasted so much time on this.
Also, the movie I was talking about before is called Dear Zachary, a letter to a son about his father. Only if you want to be utterly destroyed and never be able to recover should you watch this film. It's a documentary.
Listen, I already watched Terrifier, and that did me in. I'm good for the rest.
We can need to do this. Yeah.
I don't think I could ever watch that ever again. That was so much. But I still haven't watched the second one, so if you want to do the second one, down. Great. So one last question, because we've all been parlor talking, which I absolutely love. Let's talk about, since we were bringing it up, like Ethan Hawke as a father and, you know, trying to balance having a career with his life. I know that we like said that he is a duty head, but I just would like to go into detail about how it can affect your relationship when one partner drops everything, like for the other partner's career. And that kind of happened in, what was the last movie we all watched? Oh my gosh, was it Insidious? Red Door? When they moved because she wanted to do music, and it was Insidious.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jamie, can you just talk about how that can affect their relationship and, you know, trying to balance having a successful career with, you know, taking care of your family, and like, is he just like a poor manager of all of the above? Like he's not doing well on all fronts.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's like a really complicated situation because like, you know, obviously I think for a relationship to like still be really strong in the face of that, like they have to be on the same page and like communicate about that, because I think that it definitely can, you know, take a toll on the partner who maybe like is kind of putting their stuff on the back burner in order for their partner to succeed in whatever they're like agreeing to. I think that like, you know, a lot of open communication should be a part of it, just to like keep checking in with one another to make sure that they're both still on the same page. I think without that, there can be a lot of resentment that builds, and like that can ultimately like get in the way of the relationship really working. So I also think that like in this particular situation, it just doesn't seem as if like Ellison's character is, there's a comment that his wife makes about like all of the cops hating them in like other places that they've lived in. And it's like, he doesn't seem to be doing anything to make this any easier for his partner or his family. And so it's like, you know, yes, it's one thing if you're like, this is something I really want and I want you here with me, and like this is the only way that we can get this done. But like, are there still things that you can do to like not be the worst person of all time?
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like that's where I think it's problematic, because like it's one thing, like I don't think that there's anything wrong with the idea of them moving in order for him to follow this story to write about, because like he's a good true crime writer and like this is what he really wants to do. What I do think is a problem is like lying to your entire family about it, like putting them in positions that like do make them unsafe or like treated poorly by other people in the town and the police and like like all of that stuff I feel like can be dealt with in a much different way. But
Absolutely.
But he just got the yes from his partner, so he's like no holds bars, is like doing whatever he wants essentially, and like that's what I feel like is problematic for their relationship, aside from the fact that then they get murdered. But I feel like, you know, that's where that communication is super important, so that like you can still be on the same page and like and do whatever you can to like make the situation work for everybody, even if it's not the ideal situation.
Yeah. But that's a great point. He definitely isn't doing anything to kind of ease
Yeah.
her burden throughout the whole movie. He's just like
and like
tunnel vision.
yeah, and like I think also, there are conversations around like finances that come into play. Like,
Yes.
is the expectation then that like we don't really know what they're doing for money. Like, I think we're to assume that he pivoted to like writing academic textbooks, which he hated, but like
Yes.
that was how they were making an income. So if he's not doing that anymore, like how are they now making money? What is
Right.
is she now like the breadwinner? Because he's just doing research for this book. So like unclear. I mean, he might still be getting some like residuals from having written these textbooks, but like I don't really know how writing books work. So,
Right.
come at me in the comments or whatever. But yeah, like how like those are part of the conversations that like we're assuming they had to have had. And I think that's part of like what is healthy and effective in whatever the goal is. Like, even me pursuing my own therapy business is something that I've talked to Brian about like extensively, because like it affects the both of us. Like we're a partnership. And so like I want to know that he supports me in like, business decisions that I'm making, like financial business decisions that I'm making, because it impacts the both of us. And like
Right.
having his support and talking through all of that stuff both makes me feel like he has my back. And I hope that also makes him know that like I trust him, and like I want him to be a part of these things, because like it is affecting both of us, even though it's like
Exactly.
my business, but like it affects the both of us. So like those are
Right.
the things that I think about in like these types of situations in movies and TV shows, where it's like hopefully they're having those same kind of conversations, because if they're not, like it's going to cause a lot of conflict in their relationship.
Right. Thesis statement: marry a therapist.
Bam.
Communication
We're
skills. Out of 10. Fantastic. Thank you for that, Jamie. Great. Would we like to go to Rotten Tomatoes?
Let's
Rotten
do
Tomaten.
Rotten Tomaten.
Rotten Tomaten.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Okay. What do you think this movie has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna say 85.
Okay, Jamie.
This is me being a skeleton. I'm gonna say 87.
Ugh.
This has a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
the audience
It's
score
not
is a 62.
Whoa.
That's so
Fascinating.
wild.
The critics' consensus is its plot hinges on typically implausible horror movie behavior and recycles countless genre cliches, but Sinister delivers a surprising number of fresh, diabolical twists.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, in the you might also like, Mama comes up.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting.
Nice.
Fascinating.
Cool. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Yeses.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
Okay, the 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. We are going to rank each one of these 1 through 10. Suggestions is separate from that. But skulls is how well does it handle mental health human behavior. Scares is how scary is it. Shakes is, how much will this stick with you. And then we'll give suggestions. But Jamie, why don't you start with your numbers 1 through 10 for skulls, scares, and shakes.
Sure. For skulls, I put a 4 because I just have a hard time believing that someone could be this awful, but maybe that's because I view the best in people.
Yes.
But it's just like, how do you not have this conversation? How does she also just like not look? Like knowing what he's going, even though she doesn't know exactly what happened, she knows where they are moving to. And like, she's not dumb.
From
like,
an amazing house.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
from an
there's
amazing house. Look it up.
there's this littlest amount of Googling that can happen, and I'm shocked that she doesn't do that. Like that just doesn't seem real.
Sure.
And then I also just feel like he's just doing like the typical white person in a horror movie thing where he's exploring everything and like no, that's a no from me. I am not doing that ever. So like those are the things where I'm like, that doesn't seem real. However, for scares, I'm giving this a 5. This like, especially like remembering the first watch, like it really scared me. It like the jump scares were totally effective to me. The lawnmower scene, the sound design in this, like all of that really adds to like it being a pretty scary movie for me. For shakes, I'm giving it a 6, so my scores are 4, 5, 6. There are things that I like don't always remember, like the order of things in this movie, but I do still like there are things that land with me about this, and like it is memorable. And yeah, I think it's like a pretty solid horror film.
Cool.
Nice.
Nikisha?
Skulls, I'm gonna give this a 5 because they got out of the house, and that doesn't always happen in horror movies. So that's I'm gonna give it a 5.
Well, yes. I also think we didn't really talk. We talked about it a little bit, but the trope that people don't leave the house and die in the house, but they left the house and died in the other house because that was what Bughuuled wanted them to do is kind of super clever.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. That's a great point. Yeah. So yeah, I'll stick with my 5. I think that's it's good. Scares, it was a 2 for me. Maybe because again it was dark, but I did jump, but it was mostly because of the sounds, not what I saw.
Sure.
And then shakes, I'll give it a 6 because of the ending. Like I will remember, the unhappy ending that this was. So 6 for me.
Cool. I'm also giving this a 5 for skulls. I'm giving this a 7 for scares. I think this is pretty scary. The jump scares especially. I'm not as creeped out by this movie as much as I used to be. But definitely that. And shakes, I'll give this a 7. I feel like if there was a horror starter pack, this would be in the contemporary ones.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think that like if you're going classics, you're going like 80s, then you're going like like 90s, and then you're doing like more 2000s and on and contemporary. Like this would absolutely like be in that time capsule of horror, in my opinion. So I would give that a 7 for that reason. And then my suggestion is Insidious.
Work.
It's from the same generation as far as I'm concerned. I always think about Sinister. Insidious and Sinister kind of in the same. I prefer Insidious to this one. I think both have awful husbands, who were played by likable actors.
Yes.
And so yeah, that's and both actually move.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think one has a more of a sense of humor about what it's doing than the other one, and I think they're both equally scary. I would easily put Sinister and Insidious in a 2-pack.
Yeah, that'd be a good 2-pack. I looked up like horror movies about book writing. So, and even in watching this, I was thinking for some reason like The Ring, which was on a list of like writing horror movies, but then some others on the list were Misery, and I was like, duh, of course, yes. And then Hush, which I absolutely love. And I was like, I forgot she was writing a book when that intruder came in. Woo!
And The Shining.
And yes, we just did The Shining, so I didn't want to put that on there, but that was like number 1 on all the lists.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's all for me for suggestions. Jamie?
I went with another movie that has like some weird spookernatural is what I was gonna say.
Well, Supernatural.
Spookernatural.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is an excellent word.
Yes.
I was an accident when my brain short circuited.
Love it.
Another supernatural entity. I went with the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, that's good. Fantastical.
Woo woo.
Well, I think these are all really great suggestions. Okay, so I think this wraps up our episode of the Sinister. Look at little Teddy. Hey, just chilling.
Scared me.
Popping out of nowhere. Great. So you can follow us on the Instagram.
We got Bughuuled by Ted.
We did get Bughuuled.
Bughuuled.
What are we on? Oh, X. I was trying not to say Twitter because it's not Twitter anymore.
Say Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok especially. Follow us at Talk Horror Pod, Pod. And Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. You can listen to us on Spotify and, of course, Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you. Woo. I mean, I don't know what any other way to sign off with than Bughuuled, but also, like, you got to sing the song that you made up, Jamie.
I don't remember what I made up, but I was going to go, Bughuuled!
You got Bughuuled.
Yeah, I got Bughuuled.
What was it? Don't get Bughuuled.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't wake daddy. Don't get Bughuuled.
Don't get Bughuuled.
Bughuuled.
Bughuuled. Bughuuled.
Thanks, guys.
That jump scare will never work for me ever again. Because I will only hear
Bughuuled.
Nikisha go, Bughuuled.
Absolutely.
Bughuuled.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Bughuuled.
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 Is that our new sign-off from every episode now?
Bughuuled. Yes.
Bughuuled.